Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you are on this wonderful planet of ours, where the Premier League is literally, not even a week away because the first game is on Friday. So wow, wow, wow! It's really about that time of year where we can put our Love Island away and everything else and get ready for the serious stuff. You're all very, very welcome to Grizz Khan myself's channel. As you can tell today, well, I haven't promoted it like I should have. I completely forgot. But what we're planning to do this week is have a look at a lot of the clubs. Well, trying to do the top six or top five, and to see how they're faring up and how they think they're ready for their respective clubs. And today is Chelsea's turn, Steve. A club that's very close to my heart. Um, how's it? How's it in
Probably
your?
not close to your heart, closer
How's
to
it?
other areas, not
How's it?
heart.
How's Chelsea and you?
Definitely not. Well, as Miz said, definitely closer to other areas for me. I spent some time living in Guildford in Surrey back in the late 90s, early noughties, and they didn't endear themselves to me. I was far too close to Cobham for my own liking anyway. So, yeah, do you know what? It'll be good-hearted banter with some very direct questioning today because it's interesting to see what happens, isn't it? So I bet these boys have got some answers for us anyway.
Yeah, of course, and we wouldn't expect anything. And you know what? I've been getting so many messages, guys. So many messages. Like you always speak when there's no Chelsea representatives on to fire back or anything. And I just say, well, I mean, that's just the way it happens. I don't mean to exclude Chelsea interaction or participation. And look, today I've not only got you one gem. I've got you three gems, man. Of course, Jam returning to my channel. He's been on a fair few times, but obviously Love Season took over. Now that Love Season is nearly finished, Love Island, I should say, he's back again. Jam, you're very welcome, man.
Oh, glad to be back, mate. Glad to be back. Yeah, you two are just in a good mood because of the Community Shield, obviously. That's why you got some nice words for Chelsea and all that.
Now we may not have nice words. Don't get it twisted yet. We may do as well. But and of course, when I say good morning, I do mean good morning, literally, to Ms. who's actually very, very early morning. Very, very welcome again, my brother.
No, absolutely. Great to be here, Grizz. You run a fine establishment, man. Every time I come here, I love it. The conversations are brilliant. Your live chat is brilliant. So, yeah, let's give you some Chelsea therapy today, Grizz.
Absolutely. And I've got the young, handsome Addy making his debut on my channel. Very last minute, but you're very, very welcome still.
Appreciate the compliments, Chris, man. Yeah, it's nice to be here, man. I've been off YouTube for a little while focusing on uni, but I'm back, man, to just back Chelsea and talk some football, man.
Absolutely. Miz, I'll probably come to you. Just as we said, 5 or 6. You play on the Saturday or the Sunday?
Saturday.
So you play on the Saturday. Miz, talk me through your feelings and emotions as of today. How are you feeling? And how you expect to be feeling once the transfer window closes? Two different emotions, I guess.
Yeah, look, as we were saying off air, I feel like we're still a bit undercooked. However, watching that performance against Udinese, the first game, our proper team that set out to play, it gave me some heart. It gave me some heart in the sense that we actually played some very good football tactically and from a match sharpness point of view as well. So if we continue with that progress, incrementally keep developing on our tactics, on our match sharpness, on our match fitness, I think we hopefully should be doing well for the upcoming match against Everton. For Chelsea Football Club, it's always been about consistency, and that's something that I want to see in this season. Players like Sterling look brilliant in the false 9 position. He was tucking into some really nice pockets of space, allowing for Mason Mount and Havertz to run as opposed to having their backs against the defenders, which created a lot of havoc for Udinese. I know, no disrespect to Udinese, but it is Udinese. At the end of the day, you still need to go out there and have a good preseason match. Players like Jorginho and Kante was on something else on that particular night. It was his first proper match in the preseason, and he looked like he wanted to showcase he wanted to send a message to Chelsea fan base that don't forget me. Don't you dare forget me. I'm here to stay. And I think he put on a very good statement performance on that day. And overall, it was a fine sort of display that we put out. The only thing that I will say is that I still feel we're undercooked, Grizz. I feel like we're not there yet. Yes, Sterling, Kalidou Koulibaly was once again a fantastic performance on the left side, drifting into the midfield area. He just fits in like a glove. I actually even think he's a better player than Rudiger on that LCB position with his ball distribution, his know-how of how to build up from the back and play progressive passes, which is what we missed mostly last season. His link up with Jorginho, he understands. Both of them played in Napoli before, so they know what needs to be done from that perspective. But Grizz, right now, I still think we're about 2 to 3 players away from being complete, because in attack, Grizz, as soon as you take out Sterling, we are back to square one again from last season. So I'm concerned. Sterling is head and shoulders the best player in terms of attack for us. So we can't be moving into the season with that kind of a scenario. We do need to bring in another attacker. And we possibly need to have either a wingback that can potentially play wingback and RCB or LCB. And I think this is the rumor that is buzzing right now with Mark Cucarella, who not only can play in the left wing back, but can potentially play as a LCB. He has done that last season for Brighton in a back three. In fact, against us, he played as a LCB and he was very, very good. But he's going to be the number one sort of focus on the left wing back. If we ever move to a 4 at the back, he could possibly play as a left back. So, yeah, Grizz, I'm somewhat confident. Then again, it's Frank Lampard. I've penciled down Everton as a team that probably will be fighting for relegation. They've not done extreme business. Frank Lampard, for me, is probably the first manager who is favourites to get sacked as well. Like, it is going to be difficult. But it's Chelsea, and we don't do well at Everton, Goodison Park. So, and Frank Lampard will do his level best to get at least some points against us. So
to be fair, Miz, Frank Lampard doesn't do very well at Goodison either, to be honest with you, mate. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Well, he's got 3 points against us the last time we faced them. So I'm a bit weary about that. But yeah, as I said, Grizz, mixed feeling, confident, but at the same time, undercooked.
I've got a couple of super chats before we get into Addy's and Jam's opinions as well. And Steve's got a couple of questions for you guys as well. Robert Sweeber says, butt fan of yours. I'm hoping he means big fan. But he can
Mr.
be
T, didn't he?
Yeah. But he can be, listening to you talk nonsense about my beloved Chelsea. Where are you having Chelsea finish if Fofana and Cucarella get done? Get them done, and then I'll give you my opinion again. At the moment, just to clear things up, I've got you finishing 5th. So it's not as bad as some people making out thinking. I mean, I'll get obviously the Chelsea guys' opinion on how they feel about their club, which is important. But today is not about mine and Steve's opinion on Chelsea. We've given it. But thanks for tuning in. Pimp in Distress sending us a great panel. Pump the likes up. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. DJ says Broha, Gallagher, Sterling, KK, Koulibaly and Cucarella, extremely strong additions to our Premier League squad. Premier League PPL are sleeping on us. Grizz, that 6th place prediction was funny. Was it 6th or 5th? Okay, maybe I've been caught out. I'll double check that. Robert comes in again. He says, once we get done with our defensive transfers, letting go of Werner and bringing another quality attacker, watch out for us, Grizz. Big dogs are coming. How are you feeling, Jam? Miz is giving us sort of confident, but undercooked, I guess. That's what he's come out with, basically, after all that. He's saying he's confident because you're Chelsea. You've got a very good manager and you've got a very squad full of players that have been there quite a while. It's a deep squad. But he calls it undercooked. How are you feeling?
Do you know what? Over the years, Chelsea under chaos can cook. I mean, we're going to use that word a few times tonight, cooking with Cucarella and all that. Yeah, but we can. We've seen it before. Chelsea under chaos, we can do stuff. So I think even though we'd had a fairly quiet transfer window for a while, for quite a few weeks, and everyone else like Arsenal, Spurs were getting their business done early. Yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking. And I think based on some preseason results, you know, it kind of added to that anxiety because we obviously looked like we weren't ready compared to other teams. So if we would have done this last Monday, I would be probably pulling the hairs out of my beard as we're speaking. Do you know what I mean? I'll be scratching the table. I'll be biting my nails a little bit. But look, it looks like we're getting business done. Obviously, we've got Sterling in. Admittedly, I was anti-Sterling for a very long time. I've got to say that. But
why?
Well, the thing is, I think I wasn't seeing it from a smart business point of view. Me as a football fan, / when I played, I like to see football players that have got top quality, like precision, technique, all of that. I think Sterling lacks it sometimes. You know, he's obviously a very talented dribbler. He's an elite dribbler, but when it comes to the finish or the final pass, sometimes he just lacks that extra sort of care and attention. And I think that put me off him. Obviously, you see some misses and things like that. But actually, when you look at his numbers, what he can do and what he's good at, that's what we need at Chelsea. So, you know, for the price that we paid, it's smart business. So, you know, I'm backing him to do well now. I changed my mind. I think I was wrong in the beginning. But yeah, we got Sterling. Koulibaly was the guy that I was really buzzing about. I think, like Miz said, he could be an upgrade on Rudiger. He actually could be. The guy's seriously underrated in possession. He's very good at that. He's very good in the air. I like him. I like his character. He seems quite calm, even though he's quite a big guy. Good strength and decent pace. Like, we need that. We really needed that more than anything, I think, was that position because Rudiger was excellent. So because we're now strongly linked to Cucarella, you know, maybe even Fofana might come in, I'm starting to see outgoings as well of names that I really wanted to leave this club. Now my confidence is peaking at the right time going into the season because it starts this week. Do you know what I mean? So it's going up. My answer to your question is it's going up like this. And I hope, even though it's just Udinese, I do hope that the players got some sort of rhythm in their game from these 2 games and, you know, a bit of a smile on their faces because I truly believe that, yeah, okay, a result isn't the end of the world, you know, when it comes to pre-season games. But I do think if you do get that win, you kind of do think to yourself as a player that, you know, yes, I know I did this well, I did that well. So your confidence builds. I hope it's built at the right time because Goodison Park and Chelsea do not get on well. I think we've lost our last 4 games there. But it's just peak every time we go there. They turn up.
You won't lose there. You will not lose there.
Steve, I hope so, man.
They're trying to sign back Idrissa Gueye, who's like 33 and can't run. and Ross Barkley's prostituting himself at Frank Lampard at every opportunity to try and get out of the club. Listen, signings wise, Cucarella would be a great signing. Fabrizio Romano was saying that City have no intention of upping their 40 million, so it looks like you've got a clear run. The Fofana one for me is absolute insanity. This is a guy that's come off the back of an ACL. Nobody knows how he's going to react to that. We were very lucky with Virgil van Dijk that he seemed to come back and it'd be quite seamless. You're not guaranteed that. They want 80 million quid for him, and their standard bearer for their transfer fee is Harry Maguire. They think he's better than Harry Maguire, and it won't surprise you to know that they're right. But there's no way you can take an £80 million punt on a guy that's got to get over the psychological hump of having had an ACL. I think that's absolute insanity.
But how many games has he played? He has actually come back and played a few games.
He's played 2 or 3 pre-season games and a few behind closed doors. And this is the thing with Koulibaly for me. Koulibaly struggled big time against Mo Salah, and I mean proper big time. Like, went down on the floor and went past him like he wasn't there on a number of occasions. He's not an upgrade on Rudiger, not for me, not even close. Rudiger had Salah's number, but more often than not, physical player, very quick to get out to him. I thought he played really well against Salah. Big loss for that's a massive loss for Chelsea not getting that deal done. And I get the fact that you say he's good in distribution. That Sarri ball coming into play because he spent some time with Sarri, with the Sarri ball mentality. So yeah, he's got decent distribution. It doesn't like pace around him. He's not slow, but he's not lightning quick anymore. He's probably lost a little bit of his pace. If you've signed him 5 years ago, then you're probably buying him prime in terms of physicality. I know Addy's shaking his head. Addy's learned to play football now, which is a really good thing, and he's accomplished centre back. I just think against the quick guys in the Premier League,
go on, Addy.
Wait and
Can
see.
I just quickly say
quickly.
It wasn't an ACL, it was a leg break, and he played the remainder of the last season and the last 10 games, and then he's played pre-season as well, so he's overcome that hurdle. Really, it's not really that much of a mental barrier anymore.
So give us your thoughts on, again, the question that I posed, like, how are you feeling now? Let's just say your squad, because it will be, if your Everton, the team that you play against Everton will be the team regardless of any transfers that happen in the next 3-4 days. How are you feeling now, and how are you hoping to feel by the end of the window?
Listen, man, I'm quietly optimistic, to be honest. If you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have been really annoyed. The first 3 games of pre-season were absolutely horrible. We played Cup America, then we played Charlotte, and we played Arsenal. Each one of them was horrible. We didn't create anything. I'm like, okay, cool, last season, whatever, we had some injuries and all these problems. We weren't creating chances. I looked past it. And when we're not doing that in pre-season, basic matches against footballers who are way under our quality, it was really, really concerning. But then we played Udinese, and it's suddenly like, when you take Kepa out of the team, when you take Werner out of the team, when you take Pulisic out of the team, when you take Malanga Sarr out of the team, it's as if our first team knows how to play football. It's as if the team that won the Champions League is actually good at football. So that did give me a lot more optimism. I think Havertz, Mount, and Sterling linked up really, really well. Although I still want another attacker, I think those 3 actually did really look good in that game. So once we played that first team for 90 minutes, I think we looked really sharp, a lot better, and it's giving me some more optimism. But honestly, man, I think people are sleeping on us a little bit, man. I'm 5th, 6th. It's disrespect, man. I mean, Chelsea are established top 4 team. We have a lot of players that have been in the Premier League for a while. We know how to do it, man. We've got a lot of top quality players. We just won the Champions League. I'm not hearing that these new young boys at Arsenal are going to kickstart the top 4. I think the top 4 is going to remain exactly the same as it was last season. I think every time there's one of these top 4 battles, and it's as if no one wants the top 4, the team that's always ending up getting top 4 is Chelsea. Sometimes United have dropped out, sometimes Arsenal have dropped out, sometimes Spurs have dropped out, but Chelsea are that constant. Even when we're not at our best, we always find a way to finish in that top 4. So I think we're good. I think Cucarella is a top signing, top signing. I think Fofana's a top signing. Although I do agree with Steve on one point, that it is a bit mad to spend that money on him, because if it's me, I would rather get a stopgap centre back and then put that 80 million towards Rice, and then we have some flexibility between formations. We get a solid DM in the team. So I would actually put that money towards Rice rather than Fofana if we're going to spend big. But whatever, man, if we're backing Tuchel, we got to back the manager at the end of the day, and I'm happy with whatever he decides to do, really. I just go with his decisions.
Miz, Addy says that he'd rather spend that money elsewhere in other areas of the pitch. Obviously, you've lost a lot of experience and a lot of know-how, and possibly losing a bit more. You guys are going to tell me about Azpilicueta. Is he likely to leave? Just a quick nod before I carry on. So
he wants to leave.
Azpilicueta, Rudiger, Christensen, Alonso. Am I assuming right that those guys will be gone probably by the end of the window?
Yeah.
So naturally, you're going to either recruit from within, the youngsters that a lot of you guys have been mentioning, and here's your chance to mention them, or you're going to go into the market. It seems, guys, that you're going to go into the market to replace them. If that's the case, and I've just mentioned 5 pretty much Premier League proven players, and in Azpilicueta, a Hall of Famer, in my humble opinion. I think he's one of the all-time greats of the Premier League. You're replacing a lot of experience, a lot of know-how, and let's just say you replace 4 of them even. How much more business are you likely, realistically, to do in other areas of the pitch? Because to the outsider, it seems as though there seems to be a lot of holes in your squad. I know you spoke about depth. The 3 that Addy's mentioned, without doubt, are brilliant players. Havertz, Sterling, and Mount. Underneath those 3, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, look, I'm not even sure as yet. I think Havertz still has a lot to prove. Havertz looks good because Sterling was there on that particular night. We'll see what happens throughout the season. Havertz has to prove his worth, and I've got every belief that he will. In terms of how many do I still expect, I'm going to answer in the sense that how many do I think we probably need? We'll start from the back. Mark Cucarella gives us the option, as we've all mentioned here, not just the left wing back, left CB at times. I think for me, Koulibaly should be the LCB. Then you've got Thiago Silva, but then you can also play Koulibaly in the middle. And there's other players like Ampadu who can possibly feature anywhere in the back three, but most likely in the middle. In the RCB, there's been a lot of talk about Grizz that potentially Reece James could feature there. And that is because, as much as I don't want that, I want Reece James to be more of a right wing back because he's a proper goal threat, proper assist threat. And for me, he's a beast there. But injuries have kind of told us that that particular position is a bit demanding on his body and he keeps breaking down, playing in that position week in, week out. This is why Thomas Tuchel's starting to say, I need this player to be fit for Chelsea Football Club all throughout. And I'd rather have him in the RCB. And maybe from the RCB role, he could still evolve that position and bomb up into midfield spaces, at times overlap as a overlapping RCB. So there's a potential for that. So thinking from that side, this whole Wesley Fofana deal, look, I want to say this, that he's a fantastic talent. He's an unbelievable player. He's still young, still got a lot to develop. He's only had one proper season in the Premier League and he's done well. And then now he's coming off a broken leg injury. We're not talking about some sort of a small thing. He literally broke his leg last season and he's now coming back. For me to spend 75 to 80 million on a youngster when we've had the opportunity to buy, players like Kimpembe, apparently touted to be about 60 million, who is a French international, played in the World Cup, won for them the World Cup, someone that Thomas Tuchel knows as well. We had the opportunity to get someone like Jules Koundé and we've let him go as well. We've had the opportunity to get De Ligt. You're telling me all of a sudden now we're going to fork out 75 to 80 million on Wesley Fofana. Is Wesley Fofana better than all of those three players that I've just mentioned? As I keep saying, Wesley Fofana is a superb talent, but for me, that level of money, and on top of that, you look at from the other perspective, with Wesley Fofana, he's not going to force a move. He's well okay with Brendan Rodgers. He's got a great equation with him. He's not going to force a move, not like Mark Cucarella, who's made it evident that he wants to leave Brighton Football Club. So for me, Wesley Fofana, if it happens, fantastic. But for me, that level of money doesn't make sense. I would actually now won't even worry about defenders anymore because Mark Cucarella gives us that flexibility and you can use Reece James. I would actually now look at a wingback, right wingback. There is some rumors about Dumfries. I would go for someone like Dumfries if the equation is that we are going to possibly move Reece James into RCB. You could possibly have a setup of Koulibaly, Silva, Reece James, Cucarella, Dumfries. Dumfries, he will fit in the Premier League with that pace and power he has and the edge he probably has over Reece James. And it's not the hugest edge because overall, I still think Reece James is a better player as a package. Dumfries is someone who is able to take his players on. You watch what he's capable of doing in Inter Milan, and you can see that he's got that 1v1 ability. So for me, it's the right wing back. I would go for someone who's capable of playing right wing back, possibly who can also fit in as an RCB. This is the kind of caliber of player Tuchel's looking for, who can play multiple positions. And then I would be focusing on getting two more attackers, Grizz. For me, as much as I would like a midfielder, I don't see us doing anything else. We've got Kante, we've got Jorginho, we've got Kovacic. I know if anyone gets injured, but then there's still Ampadu, Gallagher, there's Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So there's a lot of players there now that we can bank on. Some of them may not be ideal, but it's something we can address in the upcoming window down the track. But for me, right wing back and two more attackers. Memphis Depay is up for grabs in Barcelona. I would take Memphis Depay up front. I think he's someone who is, once again, a very Thomas Tuchel type of a player who's fluid up front, can play in the middle, can play on the right. He's probably the closest player that comes to Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is the one that I wanted badly. Now he's doing madness in Arsenal. For me, Memphis Depay is the closest one that comes in terms of a player profile. Is he as good as Gabriel Jesus? I don't think so. So for me, Memphis Depay, and there's some rumors about perhaps Wilfred Zaha. For me, that's a bit more experience, a bit more Premier League know-how. I think players like Depay, Sterling, Zaha, I think that would then put us in a good stead for the upcoming season. You're taking Wilfried Zaha is someone people don't talk about, but he's one of if not the best Crystal Palace attacker. So if we can get those business done, Grizz, I think, as Adi said, you can sleep on us, and I have no issues of people sleeping on us. But you best believe we're gonna come hard if those business happen.
Adi and Jam, I want to come to you guys in a minute. I'm going to stick with Miz because he has to go and ask him one more question. But Steve, this Reece James talk of moving him from his position, Liverpool fans get that, don't we? With Trent, small sections, I must add, of the Liverpool fan base asking Trent to be moved into midfield because of the quality of his passing, everything. I personally think it's equally as mad for Chelsea's fans to ask for Reece James to be moved from that position. That's just me personally. I think Reece James is a magnificent right wing back. I don't think he'd be as good as playing right centre back, but there is elements of that, isn't it? Both fullbacks. Interesting take. So there's Chelsea sections of Chelsea fans asking Reece James to be moved, and Liverpool fans asking Trent to be moved. Bit mad to you, or makes sense?
It's different. The Trent thing is about take the quality further up the pitch and have it more hands-on in areas where you want to hurt people. But if you listen to what Trent says himself, is he doesn't want to move into midfield because he likes having nobody behind him when he comes onto the ball. So everything he sees is in front of him. So there's no issue with anyone coming around the back of him, and that makes perfect sense. But listening to Miz speak and listening to certain other Chelsea fans, part of the reason to move Reece James into the right centre-back position is to protect his body and not make the rigours of going up and down the line so intense. Fundamentally, that's an issue with the player's physical structure if you're doing that, and that's papering over cracks. You would be better. Dumfries is an option for Chelsea. You'd be better buying another right-sided defender and sharing the workload a little bit more. 5 subs means if you've got the game won by 55, 60 minutes, you get Reece James off the pitch. Just what Calvin Ramsey, when he's fit and able to play for Liverpool, is going to do when we've taken games away from teams. We're going to take Trent off and rest him. We will play 44% of all of our games before the World Cup. So October is madness. Absolutely. I think Liverpool have got 14 games in 6 weeks. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I get the look after the body scenario. I don't think he's a natural centre-back. It kind of works because it's a 5. So you can shift across, and Cucarella can become your left centre-back, and then they can all move across one, and James still ends up in the right-back position, because you should do that when it breaks down that side anyway.
And Steve, if you notice, just quickly on that, the way we play our 3 at the back, and I think the evolution of that is you're potentially going to have the center CB as the sweeper, and the LCB and the RCB really becomes wide, almost as a fullback. And the idea is down the track for them to actually move into advanced positions in midfield or overlap, allowing the wingback to then stay inverted and the inside forward to be more in the box, creating a chaos situation, much like your team, having more numbers into the box. I think that's been our biggest issue. We can't seem to force our players into the box. It's always like 1 option, max 2. That Udinese game, there were multiple times we had 3-4 options, which then creates a chaos for the opposition defense because you don't know who you're marking, and there could be that one player that's always open, which is a lot of the cases that you guys have in your attacking phase.
I get you played nice patterns of play against Udinese, and it looked fluent and it looked nice to watch, past the eye test at times. But you do have to take the opposition into consideration. There won't be a team in the Premier League that will be as easy to play against as an Udinese, purely because the Premier League sets up differently. It's much more physical. My concern with what you've just said, and I get that you could push Koulibaly up 10, 15 yards, and if you played Reece James as a right-sided centre-back, you could push him up 10, 15 yards. Then you're leaving Thiago Silva isolated in the centre for a quick transition. That cannot work. That the only reason Liverpool can play with such a high line is we've got an abundance of pace. We've got Joe Gomez. Khanage is the quickest well, it might not be now, but Khanage was the quickest player at the football club. Second to him was Joe Gomez. Third to Joe Gomez was Van Dijk. All of our pace, and you think the front guys are quick. These three guys are faster than our forwards. So we were saying to teams, go on then, put the ball in over the top. If VAR doesn't get you, we will. You don't have the luxury of doing that. And if you do that against the Liverpool with a Núñez, and you do that against teams with exceptional pace, as Son, a player of that ability, then all you're going to do is invite you on and then switch the ball into the spaces and get him round the back of you.
This is perfect segue into my last question from Miz. Guys, I'm not ignoring you two. We're here for more chat. This is the last question because Miz has to run. Stays perfectly segued into my final question, which was going to be on your manager, his philosophy and his tactics going forward. My biggest criticism, not hatred, let's be real. I'm being real and honest with you guys. My criticism of your manager has always been that he's a safety first. How to stop others as opposed to impose his game, or if he has an attacking philosophy, imposing his attacking philosophy on our opposition. How you've described how you'd like your team to go forward, Miz, suggests that you're suggesting he needs to have a change into his thinking, how he's going to play this Chelsea team and the squad and the personnel. How much pressure, because joking aside, that was an awful season for your manager and he gets the benefit of the doubt. It was a shithouse of a season and he guided you through it, right? Probably the best of any coach could have. Mm-hmm. But this season, there's a whole heap of pressure. And as Adi has said, Adi has talked big. He said, with Chelsea, we're used to this. I don't think, no. He's right. Yeah. But I think that's going to be the reason why Tuchel is going to be under huge pressure to deliver. Does he need to change his way and philosophy, or are you happy to go with the way he plays? Just better performances from the individuals. Is he under pressure?
I've said it, Grizz, a couple of months ago, earlier on in the transfer window. I made a video saying that for me, this is under pressure season for Thomas Tuchel. I got so much hate from Chelsea fans saying that what pressure means? Well, he hasn't got his players. Look, I'm confident he will end up getting more or less his type of players, and he's slowly but surely shaping up the team to be more his identity. Yeah, for sure, he's going to be under pressure. I do want to see us play far better attacking football. I have to sympathise with Thomas Tuchel in this regard, where, and I know a lot of the rival fans or even our own fans sometimes say, how? And I've questioned this as well. How are players like Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Havertz, Timo Werner, Ziyech, how they're not playing well under Thomas Tuchel? I've now slowly come to a realization, Grizz. These players, one of the biggest things they lack is they don't seem to have that 1v1 quality. They don't have the. I don't know whether it's because they have been they've lacked confidence now playing for Chelsea Football Club, the social media platform. Maybe these players, they see a lot of their criticisms online from the fans, and maybe it's affected them. They are young players as well. But say, for example, like someone like Hakim Ziyech, who's not that evident in social media. He's got other skill sets, some fantastic other skill sets, but he doesn't have the ability to take. He's not your Salah. He's not your Sadio Mane. He won't be able to take that man on 1v1. Like the amount of times Salah in that Community Shield tore apart Nathan Ake, it was not even funny. We don't have a player that is capable of doing that. Besides Sterling now, finally. Christian Pulisic was a player like that for us, until injuries have caused a hell of a lot of issues for him, and now he seems to lack that confidence. Callum Hudson-Odoi, before he got that massive ACL injury under Sarri's season, he was like that. Now he doesn't. So, look, once we get those caliber of players who can take, like your Ousmane Dembele, I don't know if you've seen these, Grizz, the madness Ousmane Dembele is doing at Barcelona in this pre-season, along with Rafinha. Ousmane Dembele played under Thomas Tuchel. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a Thomas Tuchel player from Dortmund days. These are the caliber of players Thomas Tuchel wants, 1v1 specialists. Because without that edge, it's very difficult. So look, Grizz, the pressure is on, but at the same time, I have to be a little bit humble that let's give him what he wants. And if we are able to give him what he wants, then only we can fully judge. Because at the end of the day, these players that he has right now, your Timo Werners, your Callum Hudson-Odoi, your Hakim Ziyech's, your XYZ. These are not handpicked by Thomas Tuchel. Let him handpick his players. And then let's get back into the drawing board and say, okay, Mr. Thomas Tuchel, where do you sit now? You got your players. Let's assess you. So, as I said, I think he will get his players this season. And this season, for me, there's no excuses.
Miz, before you go, if you were having a conversation with Thomas Tuchel now, and you gave him the opportunity to pick the players he wanted, do you think he still plays a back five?
See, I've got a different theory about people look at the back five situation like it's negative football. If you look at it from a strategic point of view, what he's actually trying to do, he's trying to basically have a balanced outfit. He wants to have at times 5 in attack, 5 in defense, but then also add some of the defenders in midfield as well to give us that overload. Look, potentially maybe not if he had his way, but I won't be surprised, Steve, if he gets all his players and he still continues with the back five, because it does pose a better balance in transition. Football, look, there's different types of managers, right? And we have to appreciate every style of manager. Thomas Tuchel is someone, as Grizz said, yes, he does play from the conservative way of things, which not always is a bad idea. Like sometimes you have to use your head.
You've won the Champions League with his tactics, so it's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing always. I
think you got to take the Champions League out of the equation, and so the reason why, Grizz, is we know Pep Guardiola is an overthinker. To go into a game against Chelsea without a 6, which was what Rodri was doing ridiculously well all season, to not do it, to try to be different, to try to reinvent football on the biggest night Manchester City's football in history. And then the way the reason Chelsea won that game was, it wasn't typical, for me, it wasn't typical Thomas Tuchel. He left players high and wide. I firmly believe if you're brave against Manchester City and you leave players high and wide, their centre-backs cannot engage with their midfield and they don't control the game. For all of the criticism of Timo Werner, on that night, that was some of the most intelligent running you'll see from any forward in terms of making sure the opposition cannot come together as a midfield and defensive unit and camp in your half. It was really, really clever. But it was an attacking tactic as opposed to a defensive tactic for me that was the difference on the night. I think over 38 games, your Burnleys, thank God they're not in the Premier League anymore because they're really anti-football, will be able to outmuscle the guys you have up top because, as you quite rightly says, Miz, there's no confidence to go past the man. And Ben Mee and Tarkowski would just destroy you physically if you don't do that. And then they're just pumping balls into areas that Chelsea don't want the ball to be in. It is a bit negative. It is, because there's certain games in the Premier League where you've got to go out and you've got to take the game to the opposition and you've got to do things that they don't like. It's no surprise Burnley take points off Chelsea because they're tailor-made to play against that model.
Yeah, look, before I go.
But take your time. It's all up to you. Yeah.
The thing I need the wider fan base to start understanding, and this is something that I've been promoting in my channel as well, we need to forget about how the team looks when the match starts. This is the formation, you got 3 up front, 4 in the middle, 3. We need to start focusing on the role. We need to start understanding what is the role of the RCB? What is the role of the LCB? What is the role of the CCB in a back 3? What is the role of the wing backs? What is the role of the midfielders in the double pivot? Once we start thinking in that manner, we will forget about this. Oh, it seems a bit conservative. It seems a bit negative. Do we want another attacking personnel as opposed to another defensive personnel? Yes, perhaps. But I understand what Thomas Tuchel is focusing on these players and assigning them roles. What is your role? For example, let me give you an example. The double pivot. Everyone thinks, oh, well, do you know what? Mason Mount's not a double pivot player when Jorginho and Mason Mount, but that's not the case. Double pivot doesn't mean you got 2 players just sitting side by side. Mason Mount's role in a double pivot is essentially as an LCM on the left side or as an RCM on the right side, being a box to box. His role is to, off the ball, obviously stay closer to Jorginho, but with the ball, drive from that deep position into advanced position and then link up with the front three. That is the role. What is the role of Sterling in a false nine? The role isn't to just stay static. The role is to drop into different pockets, allow for Mason Mount and Havertz to face forward and run, and at times maybe even take the player. So basically what I'm trying to say is that, guys, and to the live chat as well, there's nearly 400 of you guys. Smash the like button as well. Make sure you do that. Forget about formation. Understand the role that they need to play. That is what the question is. Now, if we say, okay, Thomas Tuchel plays with the three at the back, and the role for all of those three players is to be defensive, that's not the case. Have a look at what Cucarella or let's say down the track, Koulibaly, or if it's Reece James on the RCB, have a look at their role, what they are inclined to do in the match, and then let me know whether Thomas Tuchel is playing a negative form of football or not, and it's is a conservative. So
I hear you.
I think people need to understand the role.
Steve, stop asking too many questions. You've got to go. You keep making him talk. Miz loves it as well. The other two chaps are going to say, well, what did I pay their transfer fee for? But but Miz, before you go, tell us where you're going to finish this season.
Expectation is fourth, top four. I think we'll finish fourth.
Fourth? No problem. Listen, Miz, as always, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I know you must get on with your normal everyday life as opposed to chatting to us bums. Have a good day. Have a great rest of the week, and good luck at Goodison. Probably Goodison's the one game or a couple of games against Man City and against Everton where I wish you guys good luck, because the game's the game. Yeah, but nice one. Thanks very much for coming on tonight, my friend.
No, brilliant, man. Thank you so much, and carry on with the show, man. It's fantastic talking to you. See ya, guys. Bye.
Take care, guys. Jam and Addy, here we go, guys. Let me just go a few super chats. Walter King says, "Oh my God, I'm sorry to say this." Don't be sorry to say this, bro. I'm a fan of Serie A. Kalidou would be incredible for Chelsea. Please look at his stats. I beg you guys. You don't need to. Kalidou is a monster, absolute monster of a centre back in isolation. TB Salifa just says we have trash attackers, but Grizz has an agenda. I'm going to get Addy and Jam's opinions on what he thinks, what they think of that. Maybe they think same as me. I don't know. We'll talk. Ella Ladd, who says Jota back in 2 weeks. Also new contract pending. Yes, I just seen the news breaking. Magnificent, brilliant news. And of course, shout out to my brother Callum, who says shout out to Grizz and the panel. Guys, smash the likes. Jam, come to you first. We spoke about a lot of things with Miz. Let's just bring it back to sort of what you expect to be done from a fan point of view, in terms of position-wise and number of players incoming-wise. Before, how long is there left in the window, guys? 2 weeks?
1st of September. Yeah. 1st of September ends.
Yeah,
a whole month.
4 weeks. Yeah.
In those 4 weeks, Jam, and let's be realistic about things. Let's be realistic in terms of you haven't got a director of football. Let's be realistic, not hater. Let's be realistic about a lot of players are turning you down, moves to your club, right? Let's be realistic that you've got 4 weeks and you have to improve in, according to you guys, midfield and attack, and possibly in defense. So you're looking at a minimum of 3 players. Let's just say 3 players, Jam. What do you need to do in those 4 weeks to make you confident of the season that you're going to have?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I came to terms with the fact that it's going to take more than one window to fix a lot of the issues. I think the main thing for Chelsea is the outgoings. We need to get some of these players out. That's the main thing. I would take a top 4 finish, knowing that we've got a lot of these players out and we're going into the next summer able to build with a new DOF. I think it's important that we don't get any rush signings that probably wouldn't fit the profile of what we would probably look to do long term. I am worried about that without a DOF. So realistically, if we've got any spaces in the squad to fill, I really think that we should be looking at loan players or players that really would fit some sort of a long-term plan. Or even have a look at some of the Cobham lads. I wouldn't mind that. I would not mind that at all. Just for this season, I still think we've got enough to finish in a top 4 spot. So, yeah, a bit like Miz said, an attacker would be great. An attacker would be great because Havertz, in my opinion, he's not an out-and-out striker. He's not hungry enough for that position. And I think we do need a player that's hungry enough. But ultimately, Chelsea's problem is a creative issue. I do think that because of the way we play, we don't actually get the ball fast enough forward to our attackers. So I think the word that we're looking for is risk averse. It's quite risk averse. Very rarely do we play long balls or switch to play as much as we should do, in my opinion, which means that when the attackers get it, they don't have as much space as usual. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, looking at your team is the best example of it. Okay, maybe it's towards the more extreme end, but you're very good at timing those long balls and very good at executing them. And it gives your attackers that space to really execute a one-on-one well with pace. I just think someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi would love that, but he doesn't get that opportunity as often. I think even Pulisic might love that. He doesn't get that opportunity as often. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sterling fits in. So do you know what? I would love an attacker like Depay. I think Miz got it spot on. I think he can get the ball at feet and he can create something.
Wouldn't Depay be so similar to Havertz in terms of you spoke about Havertz not having the hunger and desire to be an out-and-out goal scorer. Depay, in my opinion, from what I've seen of him, is not an out-and-out goal gunman, like guaranteed you 20 goals. He's a playmaker, creator, likes to drift wide, and pretty much like Havertz, man. But if that's your choice, you know what I mean? Do you need a midfielder?
I hear that. I mean, long term, I'd love a midfielder because I think some of the roots of our creative problems.
4 weeks. Now.
4 weeks. It's not going to happen. I mean, we've got to look at who's available and what's realistic, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I think we do have enough players in that midfield position. The only issue is the creativity. I question that. Kovacic is probably the only one that I would say is of an elite level at times in terms of creativity. That's what we're lacking, elite, consistent creativity. And even you have to question that with Kovacic. Jorginho does one long ball maybe every other game. It's not enough. Kante, hit and miss. Mason Mount plays in the attack. So, and he's inconsistent. So that's where I question Chelsea. It's the creativity issues. And I think we're going to have that going into next season.
Addy, Chelsea fan earlier on said, our attackers are trash. Grizz just hates or has an agenda. Where do you stand in terms of the 6? Because I've counted 6 attackers you guys got on your books. I wouldn't personally call them trash at all. So if they're not trash, what's the issue? The floor is yours about the attack.
Listen, I think I can name one that is trash, and I think Jan might agree with me today. The best news that came out might be that Leipzig signed Werner on a permanent deal. That might be the best news of today, in all honesty. Can I ask one question? No, can I ask one question before you continue? Right.
Was he trash when you signed him? Both of you. Because I saw a lot of Chelsea fans hella excited. And I'm telling you, I've got receipts. I come with receipts. So you guys were so gassed when Timo Werner chose you guys over Liverpool. And I could call out certain big fan accounts that were calling me out because Werner was very close to Liverpool. And they were like, oh my God, Werner's just slapped you guys in the face. Well, who's got bruises? Who's looking nice right now? I don't see no sign of slaps or bruises on my face.
Oh, well, listen, Grizz, it's the nature of football, and it's the nature of being a fan. Liverpool were linked with him. I wouldn't say heavily, but you were linked with him for a while. We came out.
But he's not trash. He wasn't trash.
I wouldn't say he was trash, but
let me check your tweets.
When you take him out of that certain scenario of playing in the Bundesliga and you bring him to the Premier League where everything's tighter, you need to play in little tight spaces, and you see his true technical ability, it's awful. I mean, sometimes his touch is running off the pitch. He's dribbling off the pitch. He can't take his man one-on-one. All he can do is tap and run. We literally paid 45 mil for an Olympic sprinter. Like, he's literally just tap and run. That's all he can do. He's got no skill, no finishing technique. And to be honest, his head went. I think the first few games he did look all right. Even that game against Liverpool, if you guys remember when you beat us 2-0 at the Bridge, I thought he looked quite dangerous. And I thought, this is the guy, man. Like, he's got all that pace in behind. He's got all that pace and power. He's going to threaten the fear into loads of teams in the Premier League. But It wasn't to be, unless the guy's playing Southampton in a really high line, he just offers nothing really. But for me, he needs to go. And then the other attackers, in isolation, they're decent players. I mean, ZX, he's not bad. We can all say that technically he's a good footballer. He's got good touch, good control, good crossing. He's got good technical attributes, but it's just the intensity and the pace of the Premier League. He can't keep up with it. It lets him down. It is what it is. Pulisic, again, he's too weak. He's too fragile. He's lost that burst of pace. Every time he takes a man on now, he's just getting tackled. It's not like that Project Restart. I don't know where that Pulisic has gone, man. I think everyone can agree with me that we all thought that Pulisic was looking really, really promising at that time. But then the injuries came to play him with all these new signings, whatever. And then he's never looked like the same man. But then you move on to the other three, who are Sterling, Mount, and Havertz. And I am high on all of them. I think Sterling's a great signing. I saw some people being iffy about him and thinking, oh, is Sterling the right signing? I think for 47.5 million, it's great business. I think the guy confirms you goals. I feel like this isn't to bash Guardiola, but once you get him out of that Guardiola system where everything is so intricate, I mean, every single detail, whatever pass you play, if you play it wrong, Guardiola is mad. That everything is so to detail and so precise in that system. Once you give him a little bit of more freedom, I feel like we're going to be seeing a little bit more of the Liverpool Sterling back. So I'm really excited about that one. And Thomas Tuchel, the main problem with our attack is essentially that with our attack, Thomas Tuchel allows players to have creativity in the final third. Like he was speaking about Neymar before, and he was saying when he was a PSG man, he's like, how can I tell Neymar what to do? Neymar's going to come up with a better solution with me. But I'll tell you what, you can tell Werner what to do because he does not know what to do without you telling him. So I feel like Thomas Tuchel does have to take, as much as it's a running joke, oh, Thomas Tuchel can't coach an attack. He obviously can. But I feel like he does have to take some more responsibility in improving that attack and in coaching that attack now. Because I want to see some more patterns of play. I want to see some more intricate triangles around the box, some 1-2, some movement in behind, some nice intricate passing. I don't want to just see man taking on the players down the wing, putting in a cross to no one. No one's going to finish it. Havertz hasn't got those true striker's instincts to get to the front post or get into those goal scoring positions. So I feel like if we really want to play him in this Bobby Firmino false nine position, then we need to find another winger who's going to make those inverted runs. We need to find another winger who's going to make those inverted runs in behind so he can drop deep into the space and the other two can run off him. And then we've got to try and get Mason Mount, Kovacic and these guys, maybe switch formation to a forward back, get these guys in the midfield to make that work, obviously, because there's no way Mount comes out of the team. As much as these guys call him, oh, all he does is press, all he does is run around and he doesn't do much. Mount is an excellent player. He's a top player. And if you don't know that, then I'm not sure. But I think Mount's a really, really good player. But for me, if we want to play Havertz false nine, we've got to get Sterling and then another guy who's going to run in behind and is a goal-scoring threat. So I think Zaha is 1 year left on his deal, maybe a cut price. I don't know. I think Zaha is a decent option to go and look at, man. He's got Premier League experience and he can bag goals. So I'd look at him.
Zaha would be an interesting choice. I don't see him being a Tuchel type player, though. Tuchel is looking to change the mentality first and foremost of this squad, and I don't think Zaha would be part of that change in mentality or shifty. I don't know what you think on the Zaha shout. Yes, I rate Zaha. I think Zaha's a fantastic player, but I'm not sure. I'm in agreement with a lot of things Adi said there. My biggest, of course, and I'm going to come back to it, is the coach. It starts from the coach. Mentality, philosophy, way of attacking, just intention to attack even. It all starts from the manager and the coach. Do you think he needs a change? Am I being harsh in the assessment that he needs to change his philosophy?
Like I just told you, I think he does need to take some responsibility for the attack. He does. It's only fair. You can't just say, because Tuchel is elite at coaching the defensive third and the midfield third. Very, very good at defensive. I mean, he's done miracles with our defense. Like Rudiger and Christensen before he walked into the club. Who were they? He was talking about Rudiger and Christensen, and then they left, and they're massive blows to us now. I feel like if they weren't running out of their contract, we were getting a lot of money for both of them.
I agree with you. He's elite in structuring a defense and a midfield structuring. But again, like who's the? I can't remember the famous guy. I can't remember. There's a famous coach. It might have been Pep actually, or one of the guys. It's always easier to structure to try and destroy other teams' plans, as opposed to break their plans and destroy their plans. There's a total different way of coaching. Jose Mourinho, Tuchel have shown.
Man, that's harsh. Don't be comparing.
So would you say that? So would you say making a defensive team is harder than making an attacking team?
No, but I think you're being too harsh with the whole defensive thing here. I think
I'm not praising him.
No. But I'm saying with the whole play to destroy the other team, I don't think it's like that as much as you think.
No. I didn't say that. I'm saying it's far easier to destroy a team's plans, easier to block a team out, as opposed to break them. That's what I meant.
Of course, of course. But when I'm saying coaching and defense, I'm talking about a lot of things here. Firstly, you're talking about man management as well, because you got to remember Rudiger and Christensen, when Thomas Tuchel walked into the club, they were at rock bottom. Like, these guys were completely low on confidence.
I hear you, and they've done a wonderful job of that. But why have they walked away from him? If this man management is so skilled, why have they all walked away from him?
Come on, Grizz.
All of them.
Come on, Grizz. You're better. You know the situation with the new owners, man. We had
sure they've gone.
No, Christensen different. Christensen, I get it. He was swayed by Barcelona, but Rudiger, he had a contract with Chelsea set before the sanctions came involved. Once the sanctions came involved, he got a big deal from Real Madrid. The guy's got to protect his future. I mean, you know what I'm saying, man.
I don't know what you're saying.
And when
you can talk about one player, no problem. Feel free to jump in to back him or back me or give your different opinion and stay as well. When you've got, I've just mentioned you 5 players that want to leave, and you guys have told me they want to leave. I'm not making this up. You guys have told me they want to leave. You got a new manager, fresh start. He needs to show his man management skills and says, listen, that business is finished. Whatever it was, I don't believe that. That is because of the ownership issue, whatever. They want to leave for whatever reason. That's different. I don't think it's got nothing, has elements to do with the ownership. But if you're saying he's a great elite man manager, which he most certainly isn't according to most people's experiences of it, then 5 people don't want to leave your club in one summer. In one summer, bro.
But then, are you saying the same when Pep's leaving and all these players are leaving Manchester City, you giving them the same energy?
5 players in one position. Raheem Sterling fell out with him. Raheem Sterling has history of being a menace at Liverpool, right? And now he's done it at Chelsea. And Raheem Sterling wasn't given the credit. Raheem Sterling is not a regular starter for Man City when he should be. Raheem Sterling is one of the top attackers in the Premier League, yet was regularly overseen. Bernardo Silva is because of family situation. Family, he's talking about his family wanting to move away. Pep Guardiola, I mean, I don't know if you're comparing him to Pep Guardiola in terms of man management. Again, possibly Pep Guardiola is not the best man manager as well. So that's, if you're comparing him to him, you shouldn't be, because
it's not a comparison as such. It's just saying that when a player wants to leave, I don't think it's all easy just putting it on the man management. And another
it's not, but I'm telling you to tell you what it is.
Our club was in. This was the worst situation our club's been in a very long time. We were sanctioned. We couldn't do anything. People were saying that Chelsea are in the mud, everything. Where's the surprise that players want to leave? Real Madrid and Barcelona are coming calling. They're 2 of the European giants. Yeah. Everyone has dreams of Real Madrid and Barcelona. Barcelona. Barca, Asby's going to Barca, Christensen's going to Barca.
Barcelona. You'll find Barcelona are in equally as the mud as you guys, if not worse, when they were linked with him.
And they showed us that because we've been humbled by them twice in this transfer market by other players outside of Chelsea.
So what is it? Is it the pull of Tuchel? Is it the man management Tuchel? Because you're not getting players in, they're rejecting you as well, and the players currently want to leave. So which one is it?
You know what? I think that's a little bit harsh. Do you know what it is, right? So these sanctions were incredibly taxing on everyone. Yeah. I think that was the beginning of a bit of a negative slide for a lot of players. And, a lot of these players, they're into their last couple of years / year of their contracts as well. And I think, you've got a lot of clubs that are probably twerking for them. So Alonso and Asby see it as a chance to go back to Spain. They're quite old. They've been here for a little while. We've got new owners in, and I think when you get new ownership in, you need a bit of fresh energy. Do you know what I mean? Are you up for that fight? That's what I would question. Were these players actually up for that? I don't think so. I don't think AC was. I don't think Asby's put in a good stint, so I'm not going to say anything against him. I think, yeah, great. He's getting to that point where he's declining and he probably has to go. Alonso, it's been back and forth for the last few years, even since Lampard. Is he staying? Is he going? Rudiger, like Addy said, they threw money at him and he had to do what he had to do. Right. I think you can kind of explain it. I think it's harsh putting that on Tuchel. But yeah, he should take some responsibility. I'm not totally absolving him.
No, I'm not putting it all on. I'm absolutely not putting it all on Tuchel. But I'm asking you guys what you're putting it down to. Because if you're saying there's no issue, then I think you're turning a blind eye as well. If you're saying there's no issues with his man management, he's a top class man manager. It's just other clubs have come in for these players and they want to go. Does that make sense? Really? Is that how simplistic it was? Just because of the ownership problems? And then you're saying they've gone to Barcelona, who have got probably the biggest ownership problems and in the mud in European football. They're not the giant. None of those players have gone to Real Madrid. Rudiger has. But the other guys and the guys that you're going for are going to Barcelona as well. Look at Conte's pool as a man manager. Look at Klopp's pool as a man manager. We ain't got the P that you guys have got. Or Pep Guardiola. We haven't got the money. You guys are willing to overpay for everyone. Yet they're not coming to you. So it's either it's one or two. You can't just keep saying it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. It's just football. I don't know.
Do you know what? Let me add something in here as well. I don't think this might rattle a few in the fan base, actually. But I'm going to be honest. I think
That's what it's about, man.
This is what it is, right? So I'm just thinking out loud. When you lose someone like Marina, look, yeah, there were some things, obviously, she didn't do so well. We know this. The thing is, when you lose someone like that,
it's not slandering, man. We're having a healthy. Sorry. So sorry. We're not slandering. I've got 3 Chelsea fans in here today, 2 now, and they're absolutely backing their club with their chest. We're having a proper debate and a chat like we wouldn't if we were sitting in a coffee shop, sitting in a restaurant. We'd be talking like this amongst mates. This is what it's about. There's no rudeness. There's no shut your mouth. There's no slander. This is proper football chat. We're asking hard questions because they need to be asked. Well, sorry, Jam. I'm not going to.
No. It's all good. Like I appreciate that. It's all about having these conversations and debates like this. I think with losing Marina the way we did, and even Czech to an extent when we did, it kind of you lose that reputation. You know, she was called the Iron Lady. Yeah, okay, maybe some deals weren't great. We know this, but I think she already had those existing relationships. And who's Todd Bowley? Who is he? He's come in and he's trying to do these things. He's learning about these negotiations. Obviously, he's got some help from people that probably know what they're doing, but it's not the same. It's not the same. He suddenly has to wine and dine people differently. Do you know what I mean? I think we've lost a little bit of time to that. And I think maybe some deals might not have been probably structured the right way to start with. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there that I just think that he's still adjusting. Do you know what I mean? Huh?
Are you talking about signing players here or letting them go to do with Bowley?
Oh, signing.
Yeah, because I'm saying the 2 different things in it. Like you can't really Christensen and stuff. It's not really to do with Bowley. Yeah. No.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about signing players. Sorry. Yeah. I'm talking about signing players. Letting players go is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think there's an element of Bowley learning on the job, and I think he's done a good job considering the circumstances.
Yeah, he's all right.
Do you know what I mean? I think he's doing all right. So. You know, we'll judge that properly by the end of the window, but it may actually account for our slow start. Do you know what I mean? So some of these players that have turned us down, I look at all these factors, and again, I struggle to put too much on Tuchel, but I know you're not putting everything on him, but I do struggle with kind of putting him in that bracket of having some like big responsibility to do these things, to be honest.
Fair enough. Steve? Am I being too harsh? Did I go over the top there? My hatred, like Baba says, Grizz hates Chelsea. That's why he's saying anything that comes to his head.
It's that agenda, Grizz.
I'm giving my opinion, on how I think Chelsea will fare, because I think it could be. I'm going to save it.
I think there's an argument for some of what you said and some of what the lads have said. You've got to ask yourself. Chelsea Football Club is Chelsea Football Club. They won the Champions League 2 seasons ago. So their stock's still high. Why are players taking less money to go to a football club that we may see disappear from existence in our lifetime in Barcelona? Because they're in an absolute mess. They've just sold 15% of the next 25 years of their TV rights just to exist. They're still going to get rid of players so they can register the new players that they've signed. They can't register Lewandowski until they sell a player. And they're trying to get rid of Frankie de Jong, and he's digging in. They've all deferred their money. Right now, Barcelona is as lacking in appeal as it ever has been in my lifetime. And yet players are picking them over Chelsea. That has to be a concern. You have to ask questions. Why couldn't Rafinha? Why couldn't they be told, you guys will be the next generation of a Chelsea side that will compete in Europe. We're not going to go out of business. We're not struggling to register players. We've got a world-class manager. We're signing Koulibaly. We're signing this player. We're signing that player. We've got Mason Mount. We've got Kante. Kante's reputation is worldwide. So there's a vibe coming out of there that just isn't right. I think you're quite right to reference it, Grizz. Something isn't right. Thomas Tuchel should not be saying in pre-season, you saw what you saw against Arsenal because there's players whose minds are elsewhere and they don't want to be at the football club. That's a conversation to have with those players and the hierarchy in the football club behind closed doors. Absolutely. All he did there was surrender any impetus and any motivation that they might have within the squad to go into the season. So right now, if you sat down one on one with all the Chelsea players and tried to read them and understand them, I'm not sure there's a great vibe coming out of there at the moment.
Just quickly, who was the fifth? I can only count 4 of the defenders.
Say again.
I was saying to Grizz, the 5 players, but I could only count 4.
4 what? Defenders?
As P, Rudiger, Christensen, and Alonso.
Malang Sarr.
No, I mean, like in terms of leaving or wanting to leave, did I say? No, I don't know exact numbers of your club, but okay. So so Malang Sarr is being apparently offered in a part of Cucarella. So, but check this out. But that's only the defense, Addy. I haven't even moved to your midfield and your attack. Werner wants out. Ziyech wants out. Pulisic, we don't know. Hudson-Odoi, we don't know.
Mutual, Grizz. It's as much we want them out. You know how desperate I am to get Werner's 250k off my books.
I hear that. Okay, so but this is the thing. At what point do we ask the question? We sit down, so we ask the question. At what point do we ask the question that it's not all about taking 10 players out of a squad that's won the Champions League? You said we just won the Champions League. People are sleeping on us.
Yeah,
I'm giving you reasons why people are sleeping on you, and now you're saying no, but these players are the ones that won the Champions League, and then half your fan base is calling them trash. So there's a lot of contradictions coming out of your club and your fan base. That's what I'm saying.
When I was saying about the reference, I was talking about basically because when we played Udinese, it was just our strongest 11 played, and I was saying that basically. That's irrelevant. Forget that comment. It's done. That was forget that. Basically, what I was trying to say is with the players, I just don't understand the whole.
So you want everyone that doesn't want to be at a club, you want them turfed out.
Grizz. Do you accept that this is a rebuild?
I do, but what I'm asking you is, should it be in a rebuild? Was it a rebuild last season? When you went to the last season,
the structure of in a rebuild and the players, the team's in a rebuild. It's
okay. I'm asking you the question. At the start of last season, when you brought in Lukaku, and be honest, I mean, first time we've spoken, so I won't know of your social media history and what you tweeted and what you said on channels and shows, whatever. Tell me where you thought you guys were expected to finish and where you thought you're going to finish. Only 12 months ago.
Expected by the wider consensus, I'd say top 3, but I personally thought we were going to win the league. Personally,
there you go. Yeah. So now listen to me. Now listen to me, bro. I'm going to be honest and be very brutally honest, but it's not slander. No, I'm going to be honest and open you and answer me where I'm wrong. Correct me where I'm wrong. 12 months later, the ownership has come in. You have got new ownership.
Yeah.
You've only got rid of Rudiger and Christensen that you can probably or possibly blame on the ownership model because their contracts were in that kind of situation. Even though my personal opinion is people behind the scenes like Tuchel should have had a word and a relationship with these players and said, hold tight, we're going to get through this. You're my people. You made me win the Champions League. I believe in you. If you believe in me, you stay. You don't go to another club, whatever. Hear me out. You may disagree, but tell me which part you disagree with. Yeah. Only Rudiger and Christensen have left that field. Now the ownership's settled. Everything is calm. The water should be calmer. Now it's all about Tuchel convincing the players. And we've mentioned about 8-9 players in your squad that want to leave. and go. And we've also mentioned 5-6 players either not coming in or have rejected you. And despite what you guys say, you guys know in your heart of hearts they've rejected you. Yeah. Why is there no more questions being asked? Why are you so calm and easy about it and deflecting? Why are you not saying there is an issue? But because I think it would be more of a siege mentality if you guys could say, you know what? Yeah, it's true. But I'd rather bring in hungry players that want to play for the club, that want to play for Tuchel. Everybody that don't want to be here, get them out of the club and let's start fresh.
No, Grizz, me and you got a misunderstanding here then, because I accept there's a problem. I know there's
okay.
I just didn't like how you were just blaming it all on Tuchel's man management. That's why I didn't.
No, I don't think he's an elite man and management. I'll still say that.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm not blaming on him. I'm not blaming on him. Of course not. I've just told you guys. Do you remember when I said his turbulent year, not many coaches can get through that with the results he did. So he done magnificently, but there is wider issues.
Okay,
you can't just say player X is no good. Hudson-Odoi's lost his touch. Ziyech, all these players were gassed to the max. I know Jam changed his name to every player on his profile when they came. I know he did. Right? So there has to be an element of where's Tuchel's role in this? You can't just play the ownership. Tuchel has to come through. That's what I'm saying. But sorry.
You're right, boys. If you look at with what you asked the question, Addy, do you accept that this is a rebuild? And Grizz said it is, because it is. But look at the foundations of your rebuild. You spent £3 million short of £100 million on a centre forward that you believe was part of a recruitment drive that would take you to the top of the title, to win the title. 12 months later, you loan him back to where he came from for £7 million. So you've got a £90 million problem. Inter Milan are not paying all of his wages. They couldn't afford to. If Ziyech goes on loan to AC Milan will not pay all of Ziyech's wages because they can't afford to. If Timo Werner is ousted out of the club and goes back to Leipzig, this will be one of those situations where Werner's agent goes to Chelsea and says, you're selling the player, you pay up a percentage of his contract. Because that's what happens when you force players out of your club. They come and say, pay me off. And that's what's going to happen here. What does that say to people looking at the football club? Young players who want to go and sign for a new team. What does that say? Where is Chelsea's rebuild right now? Because it's a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess. That's what I'm saying. That's why I understand that we have problems. It's been a mess. And since we've got humbled in this window, we can see quite visibly that it's a mess. Not just through players leaving and players not wanting to join us. It is a mess. I agree with you. And then again, you've got to look at it, like you say, Werner, he came out saying that he wants to leave. He actually said in interviews that he's open to leave and he's having problems at Chelsea, right? So that's another problem. And then you have others that are leaving. You have people like Marcos Alonso. I mean, that guy's been an absolute problem with every manager. He was swearing at Tuchel on the side of the pitch last season against Brentford. He got sent to the bus against Lampard. He didn't play for Lampard for the rest of the season. I mean, we know we've been looking for Alonso replacement since the first season, after his first season. Jam, you remember the Alexandro hype? The whole about Alexandro. I mean, we've been trying to not get rid of him, but replace him.
I actually don't even think he's bad. He's
not, Grizz. He's not that.
I like him. I'm not like him, but I don't think. I think he plays well, man. He plays well against us every time, doesn't he?
You've got to think about it systematically. Alonso's been a problem with every single winger we've had because he's not good enough at linking up with them. He's not good enough at getting around them, helping them.
Slow.
He's just slow. He doesn't get back on defense enough. When he played in a fullback, he was getting exposed all the time. He's not bad. I mean, he's got a ridiculous strike of the ball. His technique, his left foot is unbelievable. But as the overall player to play left wing back in his system, he's not that guy. Hence why we're saying Mark Cucarella. I mean, Cucarella and Chilwell were unreal.
Well, Chilwell, how much you pay for Chilwell? Was it 50?
Yeah, 45.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
So low.
So if you sign Cucarella tomorrow morning, if reports are to be believed, what of Chilwell? Because you've got two £50 million left backs starting to look like Manchester City, isn't it? With this overload of fullbacks that you can't decide which is the one that you want. So you go and you spend more money buying another one. Where's the show of faith in Chilwell in signing Cucarella?
Chilwell, it's his ACL injury. You know, he's just coming back from it. I don't think he's going to be back to 100% anytime soon. I do think it's going to take a little while, and you have to think about player load like management on that knee. So I like the competition long term of it, but it could be a problem long term. But I think initially, actually, it's okay. When you think we've got 5 subs as well, I think it's okay. I think it's the right thing to do.
We've got a couple of super chats that we can turn into questions for you guys as well. Najib says, simple. Mourinho gave AC and Rudiger peanut contracts. SP and Alonso want to go back to Spain for the end. Also, didn't Tuchel Paul Sterling and Koulibaly? Yep. I don't think he pulled Sterling, but I think Sterling just wanted to get out of there, and you guys gave him 400 grand. It's light work for him. He wanted to come back to London as well. I don't think it's a Tuchel pull.
That's the main reason.
That's not a Tuchel pull, but you know what I mean. If you believe that, no problem, man. It's good. Barca have activated levers as simple as that. Yeah, I wish I could pull some levers and get a remote. You know what I mean, and get an extension done in my house, brother. If it was that easy. Selection says, don't think it's fair to ask. Big up Selection, one of my biggest Hendo haters, big Hendo hater. Sorry, there's a Liverpool fan, big Henderson hater. So we got them as well, like people that hate certain players in our fan base, like hate. But don't think it's fair to ask why players are choosing Barca over Chelsea. Lol, it's still Barca. They're a mega institution. Players nowadays grew up watching them. Of course, they would choose them.
I agree with that.
DJ says, Barcelona and Madrid are the 2 single biggest clubs in the globe with Xavi as manager. Why so desperate to shade Chelsea instead of using your head? Ashwin says, how many players choose Liverpool over Real and Barca? Question mark. No one. Tuchel chose Madrid in a World Cup year to be on bench than starting on Liverpool. You can all find players, of course. There's no doubt Tuchel dumped us for Real Madrid. It happens. But I've mentioned a lot of your squad. I've mentioned 10, 11 players. I've not mentioned 1 or 2 like you guys have isolated. Of course, that's part and parcel of if Coutinho grew up wanting to be Barcelona, no problem. And that was Barcelona in his prime. If Tchouaméni wants to be Madrid, that's fine. You've mentioned, or Suarez wanted to go to Barcelona, that's fine. You're mentioning 2, 3 players that here and there happen in it. But I'm talking like you... Adi and Jam have talked about an institutional problem. It seems like a whole structure problem from the top to bottom. I'm not pinning it on just tactical Tommy, like I affectionately call him. It's not a Tuchel problem. But what I am saying is, I believe, in my opinion, Tuchel has to have more of a say in proceedings for his squad not to be decimated like this, guys. Like, do you get my point? Like, how can a man have a Champions League squad and be decimated 12 months later where 10 to 12 people want to leave, like 4 or 5 have already gone and 10, 12 are leaving? Like, there has to be his say in some proceedings, no?
No, I get this is where we have our misunderstanding because there's an institutional problem with Chelsea. The whole club's a mess. We are freestyling this transfer window. Bodie, he hasn't got a clue, if we're being honest. He's just going and slapping money down on people's tables. And a couple have got accepted, a couple have got rejected. We've got rejected in terms of a couple. Come on, we've lost Petr Cech and Marina. This was bound to happen. We really do need a director of football for next summer. So that's something that we must work on. But for now, we have to deal with this situation. It's been a mess this year. 2022 has been an absolute mess for Chelsea. We just got to deal with this summer. It's going to be more than a couple summers. But the thing that you're saying about the squad being decimated is because, firstly, it's not going to happen. Like, Ziyech ain't going to leave, Pulisic ain't going to leave unless we get replacements, first of all. So they're not going anywhere. And second of all, if they're not fitting Tuchel's system on what he wants, and because he's been given the keys right now, this is Bowley has told Tuchel, you can do what you want with this squad right now. It's your signings, it's your departures, you decide. So Tuchel,
this is what I want to get to.
So Tuchel is fine with letting these man go. It's not a problem for me. So you can't like Werner, Ziyech, they really haven't played well for Tuchel. So you can't really say it's on his man management to keep them.
100%.
I'll drive them. I will drive them now.
That's one thing I've said again and again and again. Tuchel gets absolutely the chance to build his attack, but keep the same energy. If he's built the defense, and he's built those players in defense, why hasn't he done with the same with the rest of your team? That's what I'm saying to you guys. So they were his players. He didn't inherit those players. He didn't buy those players. He inherited those defenders. He inherited every single the system they played. I'm sure you guys were playing the same system before he came in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would you change it? Okay,
rarely. Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? You guys show me hell of energy in that he's revamped the players and the defense, and I got no answer.
In his defense, you weren't playing with the system. You weren't playing with the system under Lampard. it was off the cuff football. You couldn't look at Chelsea and say what's their footballing identity, because it didn't have one. In the same way, Everton haven't got one. There's only 5 or 6 managers in world football that have got enough about them to give a team a proper system and a proper identity. And Frank Lampard wasn't one of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I hear that. I just want to say something that's been missed out as well. So this rebuild is only just begun, right? This particular rebuild. I've already said I think it's going to take multiple windows. It's too hard to get rid of all these issues. Going right back to when we lost Hazard, we didn't replace him as a player, that elite level player. We lost out on that. But I think we kind of went backwards for a season. As we know, that was our first rebuild transfer ban, right? We got loads of the common players in. So that's rebuild number one. You're asking a lot of players to go through that whole kind of mindset change and things like that. New manager, Lampard. That didn't work out. Then you get Tuchel in. He's revamped everyone, changed things around. We go and win a Champions League. Great. Again, from a mindset point of view, every single pre-season since, no joke, since Hazard has left, there's always some sort of drama with Chelsea. Something comes up and it just makes it a pain in the arse. It makes it a headache. And now what we've got is obviously the sanctions. That was hella draining on everyone. Everyone involved, that was seriously draining. And now we've got to another point where we're going, here's another rebuild. And actually this rebuild is going to take longer. And I'll tell you why. It's because we've got players on a lot of wages that really shouldn't be there right now. You look at like a Ross Barkley and things like that. And that, first of all, could be quite discouraging. But secondly, these guys aren't really going anywhere. It's very difficult to get rid of them because of their wages. So we've got this problem that's just going to last probably another season whilst these players are in their final year of their contract. We managed to just get rid of Drinkwater just now, just because it expired. Do you know what I mean? There are all of these issues, all of these things that are just going to weigh us down. And until that's done, I think right now you've got to say to the players and just say, are you really up for this? Do you know, some of these players have been there through thick and thin, to be fair. They probably feel like they've given it their best to win the Champions League. We do need something else now in a lot of places. We do need that fresh start. So this season could be a little bit sticky in some places. I still think we've got enough quality, but the rebuild's a bit more than maybe we've actually discussed. It's all of these structural things, getting the salaries correct. We're already talking about different salary structures in terms of bonuses, you know, for the likes of Mason Mount and Reece James that are going to be signing new contracts. So it's sticky, guys. It's tough. I think we'll have to maybe we'll have to come back in a year and talk about what's happening now, to be honest with you, because who knows? It's going to be interesting to see.
I'm in agreement with you, Jam. Keeping it very, very real. I think there's so much quality in that squad. I genuinely do. There's so much quality in that squad that the word rebuild irks me if I was a Chelsea fan. Do you get where I'm going with this, lads? Like, Steve, looking from the outside, like we've played Chelsea and you guys give us the hardest game out of everyone. Yeah. And you don't give us the hardest game out of everyone because you got trash players, like certain Chelsea fans are calling your own players. It's not, that doesn't happen.
But it's not the games against Liverpool that present the problem, is it?
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
So it can be pragmatic and Grizz. It can be pragmatic and tactical in a sense that you can negate Liverpool.
But this is my point, Steve. This was the original point I made about Tuchel.
The biggest problem, exactly. The biggest problem Chelsea have got is the games against Burnley. I'm just going to throw some random names out there, and you might well have beaten them. But games against teams like Palace and Leicester, the ones that you look at and you think on your accumulator, I'm going Chelsea every week for those guys, and then they fail to turn up.
This is how you know, isn't it?
And that's where the difficulty is, and that's where there are still question marks over Thomas Tuchel for me. And that's where the recruitment of players has to be spot on. And that's also where starting your rebuild with a difficult centre forward you paid nearly £100 million for, telling everybody in Inter Milan how much he loves them and how much he hated coming his last year at Chelsea.
That's not normal.
Got to get a grip of it.
No, you're right. Like I said at the start, I said that Tuchel has to hold some responsibility for the attack because like I said also at the start, Werner is the only bad attacker at the club. I told you at the start that all of the other ones in isolation, they are good players. Individually, they are all good players. They all have good attributes and can turn up in games and cause problems. It's just, it's just a problem of, like Jam was saying, the number one problem at the club is the structure of the contracts and having so many players on our wage bill. It's just ridiculous.
That's going to take time. That's going to take
time. Batshuayi and Ross Barkley still employed by Chelsea Football Club. It's absolutely ridiculous. So everyone gives Roman and Marino all this prop and like, yeah, look, you guys are nothing without Roma, but it's them that got us in this mess. It's them, they're bad negotiating, bad scouting. It's them that got us in this mess, man. Since we really
they could bankroll it, couldn't they? So it was never an issue because they could bankroll it.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
Since we lost Emanalo, who was our previous director of football, and that's when we would sign our Ramirez's and our Andre Schürrle's and our De Bruyne's, Courtois, or Willians, who are nobodies, but then they all turned out to be top players. Mo Salah's from Basel, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, since that director of football left, that's when all
the thing is, I think Steve's nailed it. What it was, when you've got a sugar daddy like an owner, and look, accept it for what it is, because I would accept it. Yeah. If we had sugar daddy's owners, I wouldn't give a shit about what opposition fans are saying, whatever, blah blah blah. I just want trophies. That's what as a fan, that's what we want. But and as I said, and this is what riled a lot of Chelsea fans, and you know, you guys know I'm joking, man. It literally is my job, to create content. Yeah, literally, it's my job. So, but when you talk real, when you calm down, and when you cold light of day, you know Chelsea are a massive club. Whatever Roman Abramovich done behind the whatever, blah blah, he done a magnificent job for Chelsea. As a Chelsea fans, you know, you hear that, you see that. But now you have to be run, if you're going to get back to those levels, slightly differently, because as far as we know, unless you guys tell me, Todd Bowley ain't gonna fund you like that man did. Like, not many people can do it like that man did. And there was rumors that he's gonna come in and be more operational and run like a Liverpool, he said. Steve, I think we spoke about it, didn't he? He mentioned, he name called us, he name checked us and said we want to be self-sustainable by Liverpool. And so if you're going to be going down that route, then it's got to start early. And what I'm saying and what I'm thinking is looking at, since he's come in, which was when, guys?
June.
Yeah, a new owner.
8 weeks ago.
June.
Actually, no, it was the end of last season. It was like mid-May or so.
Yeah, May, June, start, around there.
Wait. Since he's come in, I'm not sure there's a plan in place. It doesn't seem like a plan in place with his top coach, because look, hear this out. Everything I've said about Tuchel, for me, he's top 5 coaches in world football. So stop the Grizz hates Tuchel. I hate him because he's good. I'm allowed to hate him because he's good, and he's at Chelsea, a rival. So that's why I hate him, because he's good. He's top 5 coaches in world football. But what it suggests to me is your owner and Tuchel don't think they've got you guys tell me, I'm looking from the outside. Is there a plan in place that makes you feel confident that you're good to go? Excuse me.
No, there isn't. At the moment, point. I think
that's my only point.
Well, this is it. We need that DOF really. And the problems I told you about, the finances, the wages, the contracts. I mean, look at Man United as the biggest example of that.
Worst example
of it. Look how high their players get paid, and look at their performances. Like, where's the incentive? Like, money's still supposed to be an incentive. And I think the one thing that's given me a bit of faith was seeing some rumours or stories about the way they're going to start to make up the contracts a bit more incentivized, bonuses, that kind of a thing. Adi, I think you may have seen this as well. You know, for Reece and Mason, and obviously they're going to be the ones taking us through this next phase of Chelsea Football Club. So that's a good sign. But at the moment, it's maybe it's a little bit too early. But it would have been nice to have seen a little bit more by now. It would have been nice to have had a DOF by now. Maybe it's a bit too quick for that, but that would have been amazing if we got a good one. Then I'd be.
It's also, Jamie, it's something that you don't rush with. Finding a director of football, it has to be.
That's
spot.
The thing.
It has to be the guy that's going to continue the vision and be in check with everybody in the whole club, not just Tuchel, but with the owners, the board of directors, everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that you rush. We really got to take our time to find the right man in it. But Grizz, like you were saying, it's right. Rumours basically our sugar daddy. If we got a transfer wrong, there you go. 70
Any
million.
problem?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Grizz, then you've got to accept that the repercussions that's had now with the new owners.
I accept it. I'm thinking Chelsea fans are not accepting it, Adi. You see what I'm coming from? I accept it. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are not willing to accept this and saying, no, we'll be fine, it's all calm, it's cool. Which, if it is, mad. It'll be mad. Like, if you guys challenge for the title this year, it'll be a huge, huge shock to the system. And I'll get slapped on every platform. I'll get slapped on every platform. And I'm here for it. I have to emigrate. But can you guys really see you guys challenging for the title? Maybe not even for 2 seasons.
Listen, you know, when you were talking about pressure earlier with Tuchel, I think we've got to differentiate between pressure and standards. So the standards is top 4. That's not pressure. Pressure should not be top 4 for Thomas Tuchel. That should be a given. I don't think we should be competing, fighting, challenging, whatever word you want to use, whatever adjective. We shouldn't be doing that to do a top 4. That's not the move. I think the only pressure with Tuchel this season is to close the gap. I'm not going to say challenge for the title because that's a bit much, but close the gap regardless. Even if we don't get all the signs that we want between now and then this season, we've got enough quality in that team, and we've seen that we had enough quality in that team. Even last season, I know you guys, even though you might not see us as a serious team, I know you guys at the start of last season until November, we were top of the league and we're rolling through teams. You could see how the system could work when it's going well. So I feel like we have more than enough quality in that team to close the gap, and it's about time we do, because it's been a good few years now that we've been in and around that top 4, making it hard for ourselves in the last few days of the season, and I'm completely finished with that. I can accept not fighting and challenging guys and being within 8 points, but it can't be 20 points plus again. It can't.
It will be. The Liverpool and City will run away with it again.
I don't think so. So I'm going to give my opinion, and then everyone else with Steve, and then obviously ending with the Chelsea brothers. So I'm going to give my opinion on how I think. If Chelsea get, for example, and I know it's if buts and maybes right now, right? But if you get Fofana and Cucarella and an attacker, who you guys been linked with the most?
To be honest, it's just been defenders right now. There hasn't been any concrete links with attackers.
So let's say you pick Broha. We haven't even discussed. So let's say you keep Broha and Havertz are your 2 strikers, whatever. If you bring in Fofana and you bring in Cucarella, I absolutely think you finish 4th or 5th. That's my opinion. Steve, go with your opinion, and then we'll end with the brothers, because this show's been absolutely fantastic.
So I think the league is broken down into numerous different semi-divisions now, and I do think the top 2 are well clear of everybody else. I think Spurs are probably Chelsea's biggest threat to that 3rd position right now. And I think you could toss a coin up between Arsenal and Chelsea at the moment, purely because of psychologically where Arsenal are, and the introduction of Gabriel Jesus has done quite a lot for them in terms of the feel-good factor. And the feel-good factor goes a long way when you start seasons if you're feeling good about yourself. So I think the top 2 run away with it. There's a group of 3 next, and then I think there's a bit of a distance between your Leicester's potentially. If Aston Villa make another couple of signings, they could force themselves into that. West Ham and people like that are probably in the 3rd tier, and then once you get beyond that, anybody can end up anywhere, because you look at the relegation battle last year. If the season had run on for another month, Southampton would have got relegated, because their form was dreadful. So I think it's broken down into 3 or 4 different sections. And I think Chelsea, Arsenal and Tottenham are in the 2nd structure. And right now, Chelsea's target would be to remain at the top of that 2nd structure. And I'm not convinced they can. So
what are you saying then? Don't sit on the fence with me, son.
I think Tottenham will finish. Don't sit on the fence. I think Tottenham will finish 3rd. I think potentially Chelsea may just pip Arsenal, because the Gabriel Jesus feel-good factor won't last forever. He's doing good things at the moment, but it won't last forever. And I still think they need a couple of really experienced heads in there, because buying all these young lads is one thing, but when shit hits the fan, you need a seasoned pro to say, right, don't run, boy, when you don't have to. Walk to that ball, slow it down. Youthful exuberance is as big a problem as it is a strength sometimes.
Jam, Addy, whichever one wants to go first, tell me where you're going to finish, basically. You can tell me a long story. You can tell me a short story. The floor is yours.
Yeah, go on then. I'm going to disagree with what Addy said about closing the gap this season. I think that might be a tough ask just because it's going to take a couple of seasons for a rebuild. And I know I don't really want complacency to come into that, but I think being realistic, I think we just solidify third. And I think obviously we have to finish better than we did last season. So we may get more points because the ending of last season, you've got to have a look at the sanctions. Before we got sanctioned, we actually could have finished probably in the 80s in terms of points. But when that happened, you can see heads drop, people wanted to leave. It all ended up being a bit nasty towards the end of the season. And I hope to God nothing like that happens again. So I'm going to be optimistic on that side. And I'd say, like Addy said, actually in November we were top of the league. Then Chilwell got injured. Reece James got injured for ages. It kind of killed us. And then the sanctions came in. So being optimistic, that doesn't happen again. Arsenal and Spurs, the one thing that you guys have missed out is that they have European football this time round. Yeah. Last season, Spurs were in the Conference League. And they just literally chucked that competition, went out as quick as possible, playing their B team. Arsenal had no European football. Good luck to both of them this season. Let's see what happens. And I think that's going to have a factor to play, a bit to play. Like the end of the season, they both finished like this, and they were catching us because we were just going the other way. We had the FA Cup final maybe to look forward to. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit weird that end of the season. So that would be interesting to see. So I think we're going to finish third. I do. I think we're going to finish third. I think we'll probably get, high 70s in terms of points. So a bit more than this season, but only because the end of this last season anyway.
Addy?
Yeah, I'm with Jam here, man. I think we'll get third. Same reasons I don't think Arsenal will get top four. The same reasons I thought last season. I just don't think there's enough experience, like Steve was saying, in that team. I don't think there's good enough really backup as well. If one of those CDMs get out, again, they're in trouble. They got El Nene to come and replace them. While we have Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho, Gallagher. I just feel like we've got way more quality in our squad than they do overall. I think we've got more quality in our squad than Spurs do overall. I feel like Spurs got the advantage over Arsenal because of the manager and because the system. They towards the end of last season, they looked really good in that system and everyone looked in check and knew what they were doing. I'm still not putting Man United in that conversation just yet. They could be maybe an outside chance, but I don't see them as a serious threat for it right now. But yeah, it's just like the reason I said people are sleeping on us a little bit at the start of the show is just because I think like people are forgetting a little bit how good this system can be when it's going well and when the team's fully fit. And obviously, by me saying we're getting third, that's assuming that we're going to sign. Obviously, it might not happen, but that's assuming that we're going to sign Cucarella, one more attacker, and Fofana, as reports do suggest. That's when I said about closing the gap. If we get those three, I think it's not to say we're going to finish within 5 points of you. I'm not crazy to think we're anywhere near Liverpool or City's level, but it's just to go from that 20 or more points to maybe 13 points, if you get what I mean. I'm not saying it has to be by a tremendous amount, but it's just got to be a little bit closer. And then maybe there's a part of the season where we can say, oh, in March we had a really bad month and that's when we pulled away from them. But at least we weren't as bad as we were the last couple of seasons. But top four has really got to be a given. That's non-negotiable for me. If we don't get top four, then Tuchel's job's on the line.
It's peak, yeah.
Fair enough. Agreed. I think we're going to call it a quit there, lads. I think this has been one of my most enjoyable shows in a long time. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you guys haven't felt the coldness or anything like that. I think it's been fantastic. It's been fiery. It's been hot topics. It's been hard questions. But we're still all smiling and happy about it. If Jam don't smile, then the world's in trouble because Jam's smile is, I've said it before, man, after Michael Richards, it's the smile on screens, man. But guys,
listen, I better be smiling after Goodison Park on Saturday. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying as well. John, I haven't missed your super chat. I'm going to bring it out right now. I just wanted to thank the guys first before I bring up the Liverpool chat. Of course, you're all very welcome again. Addy, thank you very much for coming on, my brother. It's been absolutely fantastic speaking with you.
It's a pleasure, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
And Jam, of course, always. Steve, I think we've done a good job there. I don't think we were. I think even if I was going a bit harsh on them, I think you was always the leveler and the calm head as you always are, and brought me back down to sort of. So thank you very much, sir. Steve,
someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. Nice
well
one.
done,
fair,
boys.
lads.
Well
It
done,
was
boys.
good.
Well done.
No,
It's good
absolutely.
questions,
Listen, and people in the chat, I told my mods not to block because obviously we had so many people popping off and saying all sorts of things. And I try not to block until you abuse, obviously racially or anything like that. Any abuse will not be tolerated, but football banter, cussing each other's teams, it's all part and parcel of the fun, man. That's what it's about. John Stewart, appreciate the support. He says, Grizz, any truth in Anthony to Liverpool links, or is he United bad signing a new contract? Love tuning into your channel. Also, when's the next big stick? No truth to Anthony. Anthony was, from what I believe and from what I know. So it doesn't mean it's facts, but from what I know, there's no truth to Anthony. He was looked at. We were interested in, just in case Salah didn't sign. But that was a long time ago, as far as I know. In terms of United ban, I can't give a shit. And Big Six, we're back Thursday, my brother. Thursday, we're back. Big Six. Hope you guys have been checking out the foot golf. You know what I mean? Chelsea people in the chat and Chelsea reps. You know what I mean? Your boy. All I'm gonna say is don't give up on your boy. Don't go anywhere because your boy come good. That's all I'm saying. So keep watching. There's a bit of a surprise in store. Matisse on the back holes. But listen, this has been the Daily Grizz. Today's been the Chelsea section. This has been madness. Really enjoyed it. Thank you all in the chat. It's been over 400 of you. I haven't even checked the likes ratio. You lot are bad people if you haven't liked the content today. I haven't worked out the outro, so I'm just going to hit the end broadcast and we out of here. Take care, people. Look after yourself.